Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to our 283rd weekly webcast. As you can see, I've got multiple camera angles here. One of the reasons I do is because I want you all to ask me questions about my setup and how anybody can set up a perfect Zoom setting from your home. Now, a perfect Zoom setting will do more for your career than a nice Italian suit will do. So you can ask me questions about all my technology here, how to do something similar to this with just a laptop or a DSLR camera, and much, much more. Now, before I take your questions, let me go back to this camera angle here. Before I take your questions, I want to talk a little bit about what happened to the markets on Monday and why we should not panic, okay? So there's three reasons why the market pulled back on Monday. One is because of what's called the Japanese yen carry trade. Two is because unemployment's getting worse than expected in America. And three, or threeth, as my son Andrew used to say, because Warren Buffett was selling a lot of shares in his largest position, which is Apple. Let me kick it off by talking a little bit about the carry trade. So the carry trade refers to people investing in the Japanese government. And the reason that happens is because in Japan for many, many, many years, interest rates were so low there. So what people would do, big hedge funds and mutual funds, is they would borrow a lot of money in Japanese yen because the interest rate is always low. Then what they would do is they would invest in Japanese stocks as well as US stocks. Well, what happened was the Minister of Finance in Japan raised rates more than expected. And that caused the Japanese yen to go up about 10% over 8 or 9 days. And that is a massive, massive move. Now, as the yen got more expensive, a lot of hedge funds and mutual funds and other investors that borrowed yen had a margin call. It's kind of like a shorting a stock. You have to return it at a higher level. And they had to get rid of those positions and then sell tons of US shares and Japanese shares as well in order to cover that margin call. Now, what happened was the Japanese markets were down about 12% before our market opened on Monday in the United States. And that's a big deal because that's the biggest one-day decline we've seen in the Nikkei index in Japan since the day after Black Monday in 1987 when the US markets were down 22%. The second reason why the markets were down materially on Monday, temporarily, in the United States, and Japan bounced back nicely too. The second reason is because the Federal Reserve, which is the manager of the store of money in America, kind of told the market last Thursday that they're going to be cutting rates probably in September. And then the next day, the monthly unemployment number came out, which was a lot worse than expected. And so people are like, oh my gosh, 2 data points make a trend. The third data point was Warren Buffett sold about half of his Apple position. And you might be thinking, I don't get it. So what? He sold half of one position. Well, it's a big deal for him because his risk management is different than the rest of us. 40% of his portfolio in Berkshire Hathaway was in Apple. Now it's about 20%. So you had the perfect storm, like that George Clooney meeting, of these three events occurring at the same time. Now, what happened was the VIX index, the volatility index, spiked intraday to 65. And that's a huge deal. And I always tell my students, if the VIX closes on a certain day at above 70 or 80, then no matter what, I'm going to back up the truck and buy a ton of shares. The VIX then pulled back and did not close at that high level. And if you want, let me know in the chat there. What I can do is I can show you how the VIX works in a lot of detail. So what am I doing with my money? I'm not panicking. And I don't know the path of the stocks I invest in, but I know the destination longer term. And it's the same thing with the S&P 500 or any company you invest in. If you do your research, over time, it's like this. So always tell yourself, I don't know the path, but I know the destination, and don't freak out, okay? The only reason you should be taking some money off the table right now is if you have bills that you have to pay, or your child is going to university and you need to spend money on tuition ASAP. Otherwise, be long-term focused. Now, one of the reasons why a lot of us make a lot of money on real estate, meaning the houses we own or apartments we own, is because we can't sell them. It's too hard to sell them, right? They're illiquid. And that's a good thing. Otherwise, we would panic. And there's a reason why there's no such thing as a successful day trader. And the reason is because they don't exist. You have to be long-term focused. And so if things get cray-cray in the next couple of weeks or months, which I don't mind if they do because I'll be buying, and if the VIX, right, closes above 70 or 80, then I want you to buy after you do your research, of course. And Warren Buffett once said that the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Think about that. Selling something because it's cheaper. It doesn't make any sense at all. So don't panic. And if you want to panic, what I advise you to do is pull up a chart of the S&P 500 or any major market that you invested in over the past decade or any stock, and just take a look at the path. Who cares about the path? We care about the destination. If you invested like $100 in the S&P 500 in 2011, it's a 4 or 5 bagger. So ignore the volatility, please. Now, one way to be able to sleep at night with volatility is to have a diversified portfolio. And I never recommend having more than 5% of your liquid net worth in any one particular stock. And I don't recommend having more than 20% in any one particular sector, like the technology sector, healthcare, etc. And another great quote from Warren Buffett is, we want to spend what is left after saving, instead of saving what is left after spending. I want all of you, if you can, and times are tough for a lot of us, and you can't always do what I'm about to say, but I want all of you, if you can, to have money automatically taken out of your paycheck every 2 weeks and put into your retirement savings accounts. So in the United States, that's referred to as a 401k. And in the United States, you can contribute about $23,000 per year, depending on your age, to a tax-free vehicle. Now, if all you did was you took that $23,000 and you put it into the S&P 500, ticker VOO, then in 20 years, I promise you, you will have over $1 million. And you won't even need to check how the S&P does every day. It's a fact. You'll have over $1 million. And if your spouse did it as well, you'd have over $2 million. And if you contributed to your children's educational savings account for 18 years, you would have over $700,000 per kid. Now, I'm really bullish on the S&P 500 longer term. And here's why. It's not going to be up every year. But I think we're going to be going into a massive, massive bull market for decades. And here's why. I think that artificial intelligence is going to help companies in the S&P 500 cut their expenses materially. And that goes right to the bottom line. And I've already started doing that to the extent that my customer support, chat, etc. is all done with AI. It costs me $20 a month to use chatbase.io. And I can show you an example if you want me to. So that's cutting expenses. Then I think within 4 or 5 years, a lot of companies are going to be driving top-line growth, meaning revenue growth, because of AI. And I'm trying to disrupt myself before the market does. And I'll explain what that means. You need to be long-term focused. Like Reed Hastings, the brilliant CEO and founder of Netflix. Years ago, he started a streaming service, which cannibalized his DVD rental business. You remember when you got the DVDs in the mail? It hurt his business a bit at first, but it was a smart move. Always disrupt yourself and your own business model first before the marketplace does so. So how am I using AI in order to disrupt myself? Well, I'm working with a Bay Area company. I can't disclose which one yet, but I have over 7,000 hours of VILT, meaning virtual instructor-led training, where I've taught on YouTube my MBA programs, etc., over the past 8 years or so. And so what this company has done is they've fed all that stuff directly into a large language model. And I've had a conversation with myself. It's cray, I know. And I can't tell the difference. And so at some point, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating courses with my avatar. Now, it's important for me to mention this because I think we all have 5 years to build your social media platform, your brand. Okay, what I mean by that is start doing YouTube videos. And if you want help on how to set up your infrastructure at home, etc., you can always ask me. And the reason why I say it's a land grab, we only have 5 years to do this, is because I think that within 5 years, what's going to happen is AGI is going to exist. And that means artificial general intelligence. And what that means is AI is much, much smarter than we are, etc. And in 5 years, I think that our favorite YouTubers and actors as well, and actresses, might be AI generated. So that means you have 5 years to establish the brand of you by doing TikToks every day if you can, Instagrams weekly, LinkedIn video posts, YouTube posts like this, etc. And if I can humbly help you to be able to create the brand of you and create social media content, please let me know. It's why I'm here to help you. Now, when you create your social media content, I want you to think about Nintendo. Okay, so Nintendo is the oldest tech company in history. And one of the reasons they're so successful is because what they've done is they've repurposed content. What does that mean? Well, they release their older games, meaning 8-bit, 16-bit, 64-bit, etc. games on newer platforms. It costs them nothing to do so. I want you to do the same thing with your webcasts and your YouTube video and social media content. So with this weekly call, what I do and what my team does is after this call is done, I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. I'm consistently bad, but I'm consistent. But what happens is I have contractors that will create vlogs out of this and TikToks out of this and Instagram videos out of this. And so I repurpose the content kind of like Nintendo does. And my father told me growing up to only take advice from successful people. So I don't want you to take advice from me on this. I want you to take advice from Gary Vaynerchuk, who's been preaching this for ages. Start building the brand of you now. Okay. All right, now let me get to your questions. Momento, por favor. All right. All right, first up, I've got Andre. Hey, Andre, how are you? Great to see you. Andre's in one of my MBA programs, Gold, I think. Andre wrote, my son's company filed for bankruptcy and he has a 401k. What should he do or how should he transfer his money? So by law, and you want to talk to, obviously, a lawyer, go to LegalZoom.com for a cheap call with a lawyer. But by law, your 401k is protected, even if you file bankruptcy yourself. Now, it depends on what type of bankruptcy you file. And let me talk about this really quickly. Now, over 70% of companies that declare bankruptcy, okay, meaning Chapter 11 bankruptcy, within a couple of years, they're much better off than they ever were, as long as there's no fraud involved. And so in 1979, the United States government created the bankruptcy code, which means they had 300 bankruptcy courts open across the United States, and there's different chapters to it. So what I would do is I would talk to a lawyer to make sure that his money is protected. I'm pretty sure it is, though. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Ted, how are you? Great to see you. And everybody, please keep typing your questions. Again, if you have questions about how to set up a great webcast, video presence, etc., let me know. It will do wonders for your career. I promise you. All right. Ted, great to see you. You wrote, how's the school in Kenya coming along? It's good, actually. And what I'm doing is I'm going to be flying to Kenya first week of October to check it out. And let me show you here. Okay. So the profits from what I do, a lot of it is for scholarships for students all over the world. I do a lot of pro bono work and also to build schools. Okay. And so this is a school we built. That's my son, Andrew. He's like a son to me, eh? Just kidding. This is a school we built. That's my other son in Rwanda. It's environmentally friendly. It's got solar on the roof. It's got high-speed internet and everything. Yeah. And that's inside the school there. And that's Vital, one of my amazing students who I met at a Udemy conference years ago. What we're doing is we're building the next one now in Kenya. And it's going to be a 6-hour drive from the Nairobi airport. And so one of my incredible students, Marin Karos, from my MBA program, we're going to be building a school in honor of her mother, who's so proud of her right now. And her mom, if you're watching, Marin, your mom is probably hanging out with my sister Katie, who passed away a couple weeks ago, who I miss very much. Okay. But it's going to be called the Leah Koros Memorial School for Girls. And then next year, we're going to start working on our school in Nigeria. And I met when I was in Canada with two of my favorite students, Kemi, as well as Toby Tade as well. And we're going to be building a school in honor of Kemi's mother in Nigeria. So those are updates for you. Now, when it comes to donating money, I remember when I went to Columbia Business School, Columbia University, I graduated 8 million years ago in the year 2000. Henry Kravis, who basically invented the private equity sector, came and gave a speech. And I was so excited to see him. And he graduated from the same school I did years before me, and he was a straight C student. I was so excited to see him because I wanted him to talk about Barbarians at the Gate, and his, management buyout of Nabisco years ago and other private equity companies. And he didn't talk about private equity at all. He talked about charity, specifically not giving money, which he does, of course, but giving time. And time is our most valuable asset. It's more valuable than money. And I think we need to give time and help others by mentoring other people, especially those less fortunate than we are. And when one teaches, two learn. And so that's what I believe as well, is you have to spend a lot of time mentoring other people in your company, as well as outside of your company. And I'll show you why I do what I do. Okay. So I'm going to go down here on my website to charity. So the reason I do what I do is because of this right here. Okay. Here we go. So back in early 2016, when I was younger, what I used to do was I would teach in East Palo Alto, where the high school graduation rate is literally 40%. And it's so sad, but a lot of these poor kids here, they have deadbeat fathers. And I don't think there's such thing as a deadbeat mother. Controversial, yes. So what I would do is I would teach them on weekends, and as part of what's called the Limo Foundation. And what I would do is, once I finished teaching the one-day course for them, which I called an entire MBA in one day, I gave them these certificates. And I did it with my heart because I really wanted to help. And then eventually what would happen was actually the next day in January of 2016, I put up a camera at home, okay? And I remember I put it in my bedroom because I didn't have a studio back then. And my wife said, honey, this isn't happening. I said, no, I'm recording a course. Awful dad humor, sorry. And I recorded what I taught them, but I rebranded it as an entire MBA in one day. And then what I did was I threw it online on an incredible website for the best company in history called Udemy, and it took off. And I didn't do it for the money. I really do believe that if you chase money, you lose your dreams and your money. But if you chase your dreams and you don't give a damn what people think of you or what you're doing, then something beautiful happens. Your dreams come true and the money follows accidentally. It always does. Nobody puts a dent in the universe by simply trying to make money. You can't chase money. We are here to serve others. And so what I want you all to do is to do a lot of charity work on the side, mentor other people. It's actually helping you. When one teaches, two learn. And what I want you to also do is think about your product or service that you're building or making or delivering to customers as helping to improve their lives. And the last thing I'll say in that before taking additional questions is that a company is only as good as its customer service. And so if you're competing to get contract work or sell a product and you're competing with a big company, I always want you to say this. Unlike big companies, we have superb customer service. I'm available to you 24/7, 365. Okay. And speaking of customer service, I apologize to my gold and platinum MBA students. We had an internet outage and class started 20 minutes late earlier this week. I called Comcast a gazillion times. I couldn't get through. It drove me crazy. They're my internet provider. And so what I did was I just ordered Starlink. And when it comes, I'll show you how it all works. I love to show you guys stuff behind the scenes. And that's going to be my backup internet service. Okay. All right, let me get to more questions. Please keep typing them. Thank you. All right. All right, next up, Shahar. How are you, man? Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Ani chotze kafi achshav, as usual. Thanks. All right. And the reason I use a straw is so my teeth don't get dark. Okay. Leigh, great to see you as well. Strickett, how are you? Klesia, great to see you as well. It's been a couple of years. Hope you're doing well. Klesia graduated my gold or platinum program several years ago. Yeah. All right. Moving on to Anurag, who wrote, "Hi, Chris. I completed my Haroun MBA degree certification. Thanks for sharing. Though the learning with you will continue forever." Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And make sure that you email support@harounventures.com so that I can send you your degree. Got 8 million props up here on the wall. But your degree looks like this here. And it is identical, or very similar, I should say, to the degree I created for the Limo Foundation students 8 million years ago when I looked a lot younger. Great thing about teaching online and having courses online is it forces you to try to look younger. So I'm always competing with myself in hindsight, which is a lot of fun. All right. And then NRA wrote, why is the stock market going down? Yeah, and I explained that earlier today. And if you have follow-up questions based on that, or if you want me to walk you through the VIX index and exactly what that means, please let me know and I'll pull up the chart right now. Thank you. And congratulations on completing the degree. Carolyn, how are you? And Carolyn is one of my amazing silver MBA students. And what I do is every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time for 1 hour, I do a 1 hour Zoom call with my silver students. And the reason I mention this, Caroline, is right now is because every week when we do this, you always mention that you're using Starlink. And I just ordered Starlink. If you get a chance, let me know what the upload speed is, please. Go to Test Internet to see what the upload speed is, because upload is what's important to me when I do these streams. Thanks. All right. Next up, NRI wrote, what are your thoughts on the timeline AI will be implemented for routine tasks in accounting across corporates? What skills should we upgrade to stay relevant? Yeah. So right now, the way it's working with financial services companies and accounting firms is they're testing it. They're sandboxing it right now, but they're not using it in production because AI at this point hallucinates, meaning it's confidently wrong. In terms of what skills should we do to upgrade to stay relevant, what you can do is in my MBA program, I have a ton of electives, including electives on AI. And every single course that I publish or elective, you guys will get for free forever. And this fall, I'm publishing a comprehensive real estate elective as well that will only be available to my MBA students. But you can go here to this course here, which is only available on my website, called ChatGPT for investing in stocks. It's only available in my MBA program. You can also get other tech courses and this course here as well. Now, what should you be studying? Well, I'm going to say something very controversial. So Jensen Huang, who's the brilliant CEO and founder of NVIDIA, and I only invest in companies when the founder still runs them, he recently said that students should not study computer science anymore. And he said that because he believes that AI products are going to do that for us, programming, etc., developing, as they say these days. Instead, Jensen Huang, what he recommends that we do is we study liberal arts. And studying liberal arts makes you more creative and helps you think differently. And Steve Jobs used to always say that Apple is at the intersection of technology and the liberal arts. And so Jensen Huang instead recommends that we study arts. And in the United States, you can't usually choose a major. You have to do liberal arts the first year or two, sometimes 3 years. You can't choose a major usually until your third year. And because of that, Jensen Huang is saying that he thinks that American students will surpass other students longer term. And that's his opinion. But let me tell you one more thing about American students. So when I used to work in venture capital here in the Bay Area, during the evenings, I would teach at several Bay Area universities. And I discovered something. I discovered that American students, and by the way, half of my students were born overseas. American students, meaning even the ones born overseas, are number one in the world in the most important economic category that nobody talks about. And that category is confidence. With confidence, you can sell. With confidence, you can market something. With confidence, you can make something as exciting and boring as cloud computing sound awesome, just like Mark Benioff does. With confidence, you can be like Sir Richard Branson and revolutionize and disrupt many different industries. Of course, Richard Branson's from England. And so I think the most important skill set a parent or a teacher or a boss can instill in their students is a sense of confidence. And that's certainly what I do. I actually see my students as my customers. Imagine that. All right. Next question is, DF wrote, do you believe AI will replace God and his connection to us as children? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not at all. In fact, I think it's additive to our faith. And I'm going to show you exactly why. All right. So let's go here to ChatGPT. Okay. And for a lot of people, it's hard to understand the Bible, at least for me. I actually read a children's Bible called Jesus Calling every day before I get out of bed. So let's say you want to understand Sermon on the Mount. Here's what you can type. This is awesome. Okay. Write a poem about the Sermon on the Mount. Make it 8th grade level, which is my maturity. Use basketball references and LeBron James and make it less than 100 words. Go. All right. As you can see here, this is Sermon on the Mount right here. And it uses LeBron James. And it's perfect. It's unbelievable. So anyway. Okay. All right, next up, Ella wrote, good morning, Chris. What's the easiest way to start vlogging? And do I need to have a niche, or that's something that can be decided later on? Do you think a combined niche would work for me? Yeah. So the market will ultimately decide. And so for me, what I did was I started teaching and vlogging about finance stuff. I thought that's all people wanted to hear from me was finance stuff because, I worked in that industry. And then what happened was every now and then I would go off script and talk about personal growth. And a lot of students would write comments saying, hey, I kind of like that personal growth stuff. And so what they did was they guided me down a different path through feedback in real time to be able to talk about personal growth. And the great thing about doing what I'm doing right now is the market will guide you always. So for example, I mentioned God a minute ago, and I lost 13 viewers concurrently on this webcast. So you get immediate feedback, and I say, God bless you all, and I love you all. Yeah. So don't worry, the market will guide you. It's when you're starting to vlog and make social media content, please don't strive for perfection. Please don't do that. Because as Salvador Dali said, if you strive for perfection, you'll never reach it. Just be consistent, okay? And if you look at my earlier videos, the quality was terrible. It was awful. If you look at the earlier vlogs from Marquise Brownlee, my favorite vlogger, as well as Gary Vaynerchuk, the quality wasn't that great. But you got to put yourself out there. You got to get in the traffic and start creating your content. And the way you got to think about it is this. And this chart will change your life. I know I've shown this before, but it's so important. And I'm certainly not an artist. Okay. On the x-axis is your age. On the y-axis is give a damn. Okay? When you're younger, you're down here. You have meltdowns in restaurants. You don't give a darn what people think of you. When you're older, you also don't care. Older people usually don't have confidence issues. The issue is when you're in between. When you're a teenager, 20s, 30s, 40s, later sometimes, you're up here. You care what people think. And this is a dangerous place to live, man. This will ruin your life. This is called the triangle of despair. I want you to avoid this at all costs in your life. I want you to, from now on, live at this level right here. And the best entrepreneurs and the best vloggers and social media people live here. They don't care what people think. I'm not saying be rude or disingenuous, but I'm just saying be yourself. Do what you want to do, and don't care what people think. Yeah. And then eventually, I promise you, your social media campaigns will take off. Just be consistent and don't care what people think of you. And here's a very quick exercise for everybody to follow right now if you want to. I want you all to get a pen and a piece of paper and do exactly this. And this is therapeutic. I want you to write this down. I don't care what people think of X. And then I want you to fill in the blank for X. So for example, I don't care what people think of the fact that, I quit venture capital to become a teacher. I love to teach. Or I don't care what people think of my nose, which is ginormous. I mean, this thing is so huge. I go through these makeup things on a daily basis. Or I don't care that people find out that in next year, what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be taking a month off and I'm going to be playing GTA 6. I'm going to play. I just don't care. I want you to be like that too in all aspects of your life and also in business as well. And I promise you, you'll be more successful and happier too. Okay. All right. And stop worrying, everybody. Like, people over worry about everything in life. I want you to see every crisis career-wise as an opportunity. And it was Dale Carnegie who said, our fatigue is often caused not by work, but by worry. Don't worry. Things are never as bad as you think. And Sir Winston Churchill once said, I once met a man on his deathbed who talked about all the worries he had in his life, none of which came true. Don't worry. Everything will work out fine. Yeah. One more God reference. I don't worry about my career or business in general. I hardly ever have, because I always tell myself God already knows what's going to happen, and that puts me at ease. And you might not understand this now, but many years from now, you might look back and say to yourself this: I'm glad I got fired. Or I'm glad this business I started failed. Or I'm glad that girl dumped me because I found somebody better, etc. Perception becomes reality. It's like the Rodin sculpture. I think, therefore I am. Yeah. Okay. Now, in terms of finding what your niche is from a social media perspective, or say you want to teach online, which everybody should do, what should you teach? What should you vlog about? And what should your career be? Well, here's an exercise. I want you to assume that for the next 30 days, you're not allowed to work. You're also not allowed to go to school, and you cannot travel. What are you going to do with your time? Whatever that is your purpose, your passion, your raison d'être, and your next career. And I'm here to help you make that a reality. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Brother Eli, oh, I love it, wrote, what is your opinion of studying prompt engineering? I'm 41 years old with an astrology business. It doesn't reward enough for the amount of work going in it. Do you suggest the prompt engineering route? Yeah. I don't, because prompt engineering is just a way to ask AI products questions to get the right answers. I wouldn't do a career in that because that's something that is pretty intuitive. It's like going back to 1994 and saying, I know how to use a Netscape browser. Yeah. And you can learn all the prompt engineering stuff by just go to my website, harounmba.com, and I got plenty of courses on that. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we got George. How are you? George, great to see you. George is publishing his first book on December 2nd. Hope you're doing well. So George wrote, hi, Chris, very busy week. Provide your thoughts over the next 6 months for the general economy. All the best, George. Yeah. So I don't know. I have no idea. It's probably going to slow down. Why? Because the Federal Reserve said they're going to cut rates. And the Federal Reserve cuts rates only when, the economy is slowing down and inflation is not an issue anymore and unemployment is ticking up. So I would assume it's going to get weaker. Are we going to go into a recession? I don't think so. Because a recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of GDP contraction, GDP being revenue for a country. And don't listen to economists either. There's a very famous saying that I'm going to butcher, which is economists have successfully predicted 7 of the last 52 recessions. Yeah. Just be long-term focused always. Always, always, always. The longer the view, the wiser the intention. All right. Give me 1 second here. And then George wrote, do you still believe crypto mining is a viable alternative? Yeah. Only if the cost per kilowatt hour where you live is low enough. Yeah. Right now, for where I live, it's very expensive to mine. I used to mine a lot. I don't anymore. Yeah. All right. Aviation. You wrote Starlink. Very cool. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah. Okay. And then George wrote, what are the platinum hours? Yeah. So there's 3 hours of weekly calls for gold and platinum students. You can actually join at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I think you're in New York. That's 1 p.m. for you. Just use the usual Zoom address. And please use your entire name in Zoom. Thanks. All right. And then Martha wrote, Chris, great to know you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you for that emoji too. Okay. And Anurag wrote, please visit India. Long time too. I'd love to. I'd love to. I actually taught there for a bit. During the evenings, I would teach at one of the universities was the Holt International School of Business. They sent me to India to teach a couple of classes, and that's where I ate dosa, and it's the best food ever. And if anybody out there has not eaten dosa yet, please do so. You'll thank me later. It's the best food you'll ever eat. And if I come to India, I'd love to go out for a coffee with you. But if we do that, what I'm going to be doing is when the bill comes, I'm going to say, I have alligator hands. I can't find my wallet. And T-Rex can't do push-ups. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I'll buy you dinner. Yeah. Okay. All right. Philmon wrote, be a contrarian. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it was Wayne Gretzky who once said that he was very successful, not because he skates where the puck is, but rather because he skated to where the puck is going to be. And we got to have the foresight to also invest in companies that people are going to like. Yeah. And my brother-in-law, who is married to my sister who passed away, his name is Kevin Brown. What a great guy. And his family, Des Brown, great people as well. I spent a lot of time with them when I was in Canada for the past month. And Kevin actually played with Wayne Gretzky for the Los Angeles Kings. He played for the Oilers as well, and told me a lot of great stories about the great one, which is Wayne Gretzky. And he told me that behind the scenes, Wayne Gretzky was the real deal. He's just a good human being, and he makes me proud to be a Canadian. Yeah. All right. And Ted wrote, sorry to hear about your sister. Thank you. All right. And it's so important to have faith, man. Like whatever religion people are, just believing in the afterlife, it makes situations like this a lot easier. Thank you. All right. And then Sean wrote, hey, Chris, can you explain what personal insurance products you should have? Yeah. When you get married and the second you have kids, the first thing you want to do is get life insurance. If you work in a big company, call the benefits department if one exists and ask if they have subsidized life insurance products for you. You also want to get homeowner insurance as well, and auto insurance. And I recommend buying all of your insurance products from the same company, like State Farm or Geico or whatever it is, because you'll get better pricing if you buy in bulk, so to speak. And this fall, I'm releasing my complete real estate course. And what I'm going to do is I am going to show you a bunch of houses I bought that I visited last Saturday in Canada to show you how to buy houses, how to buy apartments, how to invest in commercial real estate, etc. And investing in real estate is a better investment than stocks, way better. And the reason is because of leverage. So if you bought a house for $100 and you put down 20%, that's your down payment. So 80% is a mortgage. Hypothetically speaking, if that house doubles in price to $200, you just have a 5-bagger right there. You made $100 on your $20 investment, and you get a lot of tax benefit, depreciation benefits, etc., which I'll teach in my upcoming complete real estate course that's going to be exclusively available to my MBA students this fall. Thanks. Okay. All right. Next up, Mohsen. Great to see you, Mohsen. You wrote, do you believe alternative asset manager investor roles will continue to be highly compensated like private equity, hedge funds, venture capital? I understand the compensation packages are eat what you kill. Yeah, certainly meritocracy. Yeah. I think compensation is still going to be great. I don't think in the near future that AI is going to take away those roles. AI can't reason yet or think longer term like humans can. Yeah, not yet. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about how AI can make a fortune investing, just do research on this company called Renaissance Technologies, which was founded by the late, great Jim Simmons. So Jim Simmons used to work for the NSA, and then in the early 80s, he quit to start Renaissance Technologies, which has thousands of Linux servers running in parallel picking stocks. And the average return since the 80s of Renaissance is over 60%. He certainly understands machine learning. Yeah. Okay. Anurag wrote, why am I so bullish on Udemy? Yeah. So I am biased, of course, because Udemy is one of the platforms I teach on. It is really the only edtech company on the planet that makes courses affordable for all students globally. I can't think of any alternatives. But I do believe that longer term, education can and will fix all problems in the world. And for my thesis, just do a search for my TEDx talk I gave years ago on this. Yeah. Okay. All right. And Ryan wrote, thanks for all your positive messages. My pleasure. God bless you. Okay. Moving on to Sean, who wrote, following up on wealth management career. While starting up, do you recommend joining a company and work for them for a couple of years and then build your own track record? Yeah. So if people want to work in finance, I think the best role you can get is private wealth management. And what that means is you're like a stockbroker or money manager for very rich people. And you get a 1% annual fee, and there's other compensation you get as well. And so if somebody invests, $100 million with you, you get $1 million a year from that. And the reason why it's such a great career, and you can work in private wealth management at firms like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and banks we've never heard of as well. The reason it's a great career is because it's the only career within finance where you can take your clients with you and quit and go somewhere else. So if you want to work in PWM, meaning private wealth management, I would do an advanced search in LinkedIn and find people that work in PWM that have something in common with you. Like they went to the same school or they're from the same hometown. Then send them an email and ask for an informational meeting. And then as you talk to them, ask them what a day in life is like. Remember, you're interviewing them. Yeah. But I would recommend working for another private wealth management firm. And usually it's a team of 5 to 10 people. Work on a team like that for at least a couple of years before thinking about starting your own company. Last thing I'll say in that is always write a complete business plan too before starting a company, because failing to plan is planning to fail. And that's something I teach in my MBA program. Yeah. Okay. And then Aviation wrote, great reminder that God already knows because he does. Amen to that. Amen. And what gets me into a peak mental state every day when I get out of bed is I always thank God for 10 things in this order. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, my wife, Christine, my mom, my dad, my brother, Jamie, my sister, the beautiful memory of Katie, Elizabeth, my other sister, who I'm making a course with that you guys are going to see really soon. And then my students, all of you, that's 10 things. Yeah. And what I also do is, and my parents, we went through a lot, obviously, and this is a picture my sister Elizabeth took when I was leaving, just as my parents on the couch there. Yeah. What I also do to get me into a peak mental state is every day before I get out of bed, I read a passage of my religious text, and I recommend you do so as well, whatever religion you are. So for me, the book that I read every morning before getting out of bed, after I practice gratitude, I'll show you. It's right here. It's called Jesus Calling, and it's a Bible made for kids. I like that because it's easy for me to understand it, and I just read one short chapter. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Klesia wrote, that reminds me of Steve Jobs' speech in 2005 at Stanford. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. Yeah. It's so true. He was a wonderful presenter. He wasn't always a great presenter. Early on, he used to get really nervous and stuff. It takes time. Yeah. And that's one of the things I teach in my MBA program. Yeah. And if anybody has questions about how to create an amazing Zoom setup or teach from home or whatever it is, let me know. I really do believe that one great presentation or Zoom call can change your life. And I take this very seriously when I say I want to help my students as well. I need a haircut badly. Okay. And then George wrote, what do you think of manufacturing in the United States and Canada? Well, right now it's very competitive, and a lot of jobs have moved overseas as well. So I'm certainly not bullish on any company that makes a product. I don't believe in starting a company that makes products because you have to deal with inventory. For example, in the early 80s, the Atari Corporation went bankrupt because they made too many of these cartridges that they had to bury in the middle of the desert. Yeah, I will become more positive on manufacturing longer term once robotics does pretty much everything. Then you don't have to worry about the cost of labor, and I'm sure that will be tied in closely with AI. Yeah. Okay, Manas, how are you? Manas wrote, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. Great to see you back here again. Going to miss the webcast today. I'm going to watch the replay. Thank you for everything. And then you wrote, by the way, why is Intel, here's an Intel chip, why is Intel crashing so much? They laid off 15,000 employees as well. Yeah. So the problem with Intel, and this is a Pentium chip, and I can talk about the Pentium decimal point issue in the early 90s as a case study if you want. But the problem with Intel is that the founders are all no longer there. And 99% of tech companies where the founders no longer run the company are not worth investing in. They go into secular decline. I only invest in companies where the founders still run the company. There's usually one exception per decade that works. It was IBM in the 90s. It worked as a comeback because of Lou Gerstner, and more recently, Tim Cook and Apple, etc. But when a founder leaves a company, and all the founders leave a company, like what happened with Intel, bureaucracy sets in, and innovation dies. And the reason that innovation dies is because the founder usually takes a risk. And the founder knows that the board has his or her back. They can do whatever they want. They can be long-term focused. And if you're a senior executive working at a large company where the founder is gone, there's no risk-taking that's occurring. And you don't take risks yourself. Why? Because quite often, all you're focused on is climbing the corporate ladder. And if you take a risk and you try to innovate and you fail, well, you're no longer climbing that corporate ladder. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, James wrote, bonjour, Chris. Bonjour. Great to see you as well. Je vais faire le casse matinée ce matin. And everybody, please keep typing your questions. Next up, Sean wrote, to get started in PWM, private wealth management, do you recommend getting a CFP and a CFA? Yeah, the financial planning part is fine. It's pretty intuitive. I think you can just read books on that, to be intellectually honest. The CFA I would do. And the CFA is better than an MBA in terms of learning about finance. And the way the CFA works, for those of you not familiar with it, is it's a 3-year designation. And what you do is you write one exam each year for 3 years. And then you're a CFA charter holder. If you're going down that path, do not buy the textbooks they recommend, which will cost you a fortune. Go to eBay and do a search on Schweizer CFA books. It'll cost you 30 or 40 bucks to buy them. And they're smaller, less is more. This way you work smarter, not harder. Okay. And then, hey, Fred, how are you, man? Great to see you. Fred wrote, rest in peace to your sister, Professor Chris. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Ted, I love Ted's jokes. He wrote, I hate my job. All I do is crush cans all day. It's so depressing. I like that. Yeah, we don't say soda in Canada. We say pop. Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Sean, who wrote, what's your day like and how long do you work on a weekly basis? Yeah. So I recommend everybody take one day off, depending on your religion or lack thereof, whatever. For a lot of my students, that's a Friday or a Saturday. And for me, it's a Sunday. And I believe that if you don't take one day off a week, you will burn out. And even if you have a ton of work to do, still take a day off, because I promise you on Monday or the day after your day off, and for that whole week, you're going to be way more productive. Way more productive. So I don't do anything on a Sunday. And one of the 10 commandments, yes, I'm going there. One of the 10 commandments, and I'll never take God out of school. One of the 10 commandments, which is the basis for many great religions, is, you take the Sabbath off, or one day off a week. And, God didn't have to, make the world in 6 days and rest in the seventh. But our forefathers and foremothers have known for centuries that we have to take one day off a week, otherwise we'll burn out. It's an investment in yourself. Yeah. And I remember when I was younger, when I worked at Goldman, I didn't take time off work, and I was grumpy sometimes going to work. And so if you feel mentally drained, it's okay to take a mental day off as well, which I used to do once a year. Yeah. You can be, I get ill up here sometimes too when I work too hard. But in terms of my work week, I love doing what I'm doing. I don't see it as a job. I see it as a passion. So I probably start at 8 in the morning, Monday through Saturday, and I end at between 6 and 8 p.m. But I'm very productive, humbly. And one of the reasons why is because I use a treadmill. And I'm going to show you this hack here that works exceptionally well. Let me open up the blinds, get a little bit more light for this angle. Yeah. So what I do is I walk all day long on this thing, okay? And I get, 20 to 30,000 steps every single day. And I don't realize I'm walking on it. And the reason why I do this every single day is because when I was younger, when I was in school, my first hour of studying every day was the most productive. And when I tried to cram at night for 10 hours or whatever it was less productive than the first hour. And so what I do is I realize by biohacking that if you walk, even at this pace all day, this pace here seems kind of slow, right? This is over 20,000 steps a day without thinking. But if you do this, then each hour that you work feels like you just woke up. So you're therefore 10 times more productive. You get 100 hours of work done in a day. I know I'm exaggerating, but I want to get the point across to you. So this is what I do. And I have one of those stand-up desks that moves up as well. Everybody should buy this treadmill. It is dirt cheap, and it's the best investment you'll ever make. Don't buy my courses, buy this treadmill instead. I'm going to show you where to get it, okay? I don't get any compensation for what I'm about to show you, but I'm going to go here to my orders in Amazon. And then what I'm going to do is, this is for my voice when I present, I'm going to search for treadmill. And I want you guys to take a screen print of this and buy this. It's dirt cheap. Look at that. $129. It's unbelievable. Everybody please get this. It's smaller than you think. It's actually not that tall. It's a little bit shorter, I think, on my end. But you can put it under your couch when you're done with it. Get a stand-up desk as well, as you see here. I promise you this will make you way, way more productive. Take a screen print. This is life-changing. Yeah. All right. Now, what I also do, another biohack I do is, I drink a lot of this, right? Every single day, right? This is vodka to make me more confident when I'm presenting. And the bottle is huge. I'm just kidding. Get a smaller bottle version. Yeah. But I promise you this gives you health, and I butchered that joke. I tried. This gives you a lot more energy as well. aside from that, another biohack I do, and I'll talk about the rest of my work in a second, is every Sunday, I make 7 of these. And this is the greatest hits antioxidants. And what's in here is kale, which has more protein pound for pound than almost all meats. There's other green vegetables in here as well, like celery as well as broccoli, that juice as well. I put in acai. It's a South American fruit, gives you energy. Blueberries as well, which is an antioxidant. Strawberries as well, I juice it all. I put in whey protein. I also put in raw ginger root, as well as mushroom extract, flax, which guys have to do to avoid cancer, and a couple of other things as well. So I drink this every day. My first meal of the day, though, is a coffee, a bulletproof coffee. And what that means is this. For hundreds of years, people have been putting butter in their coffee and tea. And it gives you this unbelievable cerebral ability to be able to be more productive and think gooder and stuff. It works, I promise you. I take a lot of vitamins as well from Ray Kurzweil, who is the guru when it comes to life extension. He's also the head of, head of research or engineering now at Google as well. In terms of my work day, and what I recommend everybody do is, let's see if I can find it. Here it is. Okay, good. What I recommend everybody do is create a schedule for tomorrow at night. So for tomorrow, I want you to create your entire schedule tonight at 9 p.m. And this is a template I provide my MBA students. Then at the end of the day, before you schedule the next day, you score yourself. And it's very subjective, but you score yourself. You take off, 10% for missing a meeting, or 5% for not getting closer to one of your goals, or 20% for not saying prayers or getting enough sleep or eating properly or exercising, that sort of thing. I don't do this anymore because I'm just in a routine that works for me, what I do on a daily basis. So what happens is for me, I teach and I do one-on-ones all day long with a lot of students, and a lot of them for free actually too, scholarships. Yeah. And while my students are watching my MBA classes, I create new content. Yeah. And then I finish my day around 6 p.m. And then what I do is I go to the gym. Yeah, I get a workout in as well. Yeah. And if you guys are ever feeling like crap, right? If just life is not working for you, I recommend going to the gym, please. Nobody has ever gone to the gym and afterwards said, gosh, I wish I didn't work out today. Said nobody ever. Yeah. Okay. Surprised nobody's asking about my setup here. I'm happy to walk you through how to do a good setup and stuff for your webcasts, because I made every mistake there is. All right. Okay. Next up, Peter wrote, hey, Chris, I'm thinking of doing the Financial Modeling Evaluation Analyst Certification at the Corporate Finance Institute after I finish your MBA. Do you have any opinion on their training? I don't. I don't. But make sure it's not theoretical, right? And I pride myself on teaching based on my real life practical experience, having worked in finance at Goldman, hedge funds and venture capital and stuff. Yeah. And you can look at the background if you want of the teachers from CFI that are teaching to make sure that they have real work experience. You don't want to learn from somebody that's too professorial and teaches theory, because in the real world, a lot of the stuff that they teach is not used, like certain aspects of discounted cash flow analysis, etc. Yeah. Okay. And then Sean wrote, what macro indicators do you look at to find out about the economic cycle? Yeah. So, of course, I look at interest rates very closely. I also look at unemployment rates and inflation, which is kind of embedded within interest rate predictions. Now, what happens is the FOMC, which is the Federal Open Market Committee, meaning a bunch of governors that manage interest rates, they release their minutes, meaning words from speeches they've given every month or so. So I look at that closely as well to see if there's any sort of indication that they might raise rates. Now, the best thing to do if you want to analyze economic statistics, aside from reading the Financial Times, is just go to treasury.gov. Give me 1 second. Treasury.gov. Always go right to the source. And this is United States government website, of course. We go here to daily yield curves. And then what you can do is you can look to see what the market is pricing interest rates at. Okay. Daily, as well as the 30-year as well. Yeah. And it's moved a lot in the past week for obvious reasons. Yeah. Okay. And because I'm trying to focus today on teaching people on how to use all this technology and webcast stuff, when your face is shiny, and before you go on television, before I've gone on TV for interviews, somebody puts this on you. So let me do that. Okay. And if you guys have never done this before and you're giving a presentation, there's lots of lights like I have in here. Just go to a drugstore or Sephora and ask somebody to get you powder and a brush and stuff. And they have to match with your color of skin as well. Okay. All right. Okay, and then T wrote, I don't have a computer and Excel doesn't work on my tablet. Yeah. I don't recommend people sign up for my MBA program if you don't have a computer. You can watch all the lectures if you want to on a tablet, whatever, but I use Excel sometimes, yeah, which works on a desktop or a laptop. And if that's the case to you with you, then wherever you bought my course from, there's tons of different places. Just send a support email to get a refund. Okay, and then Benny wrote, would you team up with the Peterson Academy in the future? Jordan Peterson, right? He's a smart guy. I enjoy his stuff. Controversial, but controversially right on many occasions, not at all. Yeah. Probably not. I just like to be a solo teacher myself. I also don't take any endorsements. I turn every endorsement down since day one. Because I want to be true and pure to you, my student, the customer, and not loyal to a big customer that's advertising on my website. Okay. And then Fred Mendoza, who once took a picture with The Rock and sent it to me. That was really cool, Dwayne Johnson. Fred wrote, butter in tea, ? That's a new one. How much butter? Yeah. So what I do every night is my coffee machine will prepare this by the time I wake up. So today I got this by 7:15 a.m. my time. And what's in it is the following. Okay, there's Bulletproof coffee, which is a brand of coffee that doesn't have much mold in it. And that's important to me because I only drink 1 cup of coffee a day. And a lot of coffee that you drink has preservatives and mold in it. And what happens, I'm sure some of this is a placebo to be honest, but what happens is you crash and you have to drink more. Now, in addition to putting the Bulletproof coffee beans in it, what I also put in is I put a little bit of creatine. I'm trying to put on muscle mass again. I put in what's called MCT oil, which is coconut oil. If you do that, be careful because do it slowly, otherwise you will get stomach aches. And then, of course, a tablespoon, a generous tablespoon of butter as well. Now, the problem with doing this, I don't know if it's a problem, it's a double-edged sword, is that it curbs your appetite, right? So this combined with me walking all day, so I can lose too much weight, yeah, which is okay for some people, I guess. Yeah. But I put on a bit of weight. This is the most fat I've ever had in my life, and I will get rid of this soon, yeah, because I was in Canada for a month, yeah. Okay, and then Fred wrote, was the outsourcing section of the MBA course part of the venture capital boot camp? Yeah. I'm not sure what you mean by the outsourcing section. If you want, remind me what you mean by that, please. Yeah. But if anybody wants to outsource, and I don't have a single employee, everything I do it with technology or incredible contractors I work with that are family to me. And if you want to hire people, what I recommend doing is this. Go to onlinejobs.ph, right? This is in the Philippines. You can hire people to do anything. So Let's say I wanted somebody to be, I don't know, do web development. You click here, $6 per hour, bachelor degree. It's unbelievable, right? Some are more expensive. And what some people do is they'll hire 3 people at the same time and tell them all it's a trial basis, and then they'll just stick with one a longer term. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Anthony wrote, love your kind hearts. Thank you. God bless you. And high value expressed in your words, Chris. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. That's my mom's favorite saint, or second favorite saint, Saint Anthony. Her favorite one is Padre Pio. Yeah. And my brother Jamie and my son Matthew, their middle names are Anthony as well. You wrote, how valuable is it to focus daily on eternal values of your work with ROI that lasts millions of years beyond our lives? I love thinking long term. I think we all have to think very long term. Always. You know, anybody that thinks short term doesn't succeed in business or any aspect of their life. That's why day traders don't exist, successful ones. We can't name them. You can't be short-term focused and put your dent in the universe. You have to be long-term focused. And Tony Robbins, years ago, and I met him back in 2015 and 16, and he was looking to invest in one of my portfolio companies. He convinced me, by the way, to start teaching and quit VC because I love doing this. But Tony Robbins used to always talk about this. He would say, if you see a piece of chocolate cake in front of you, if you eat that chocolate cake, you're going to get this much pleasure, but that much pain, because you'll gain weight, acne, etc. So always think of the long term. Always, always, always. And whenever something bad happens to you career-wise, I want you to say this. What's positive about this? Or when the market's crashing, I want you to say this. What's positive about this? Right? And what can be positive from a career perspective if something bad happens is, you know, frustration's a beautiful thing. And that unfortunate incident, which wasn't a setback, it was actually a stepping stone in hindsight, forces you to get outside your comfort zone and get a better job or change careers, or better yet, start your own company. And that's what I'm here for, is to help you do all that stuff. Yeah. Also, but just try to change the lens by which you see the world. Try to always ask yourself what's positive about this when something negative happens. Yeah. Life is short, man. Yeah. All right. Aviation wrote, how do you set up a great web presentation? Yeah, sure. Couple things. Number one, obviously have a great setup, and you don't need all this expensive equipment to be able to do this. When I was at my parents' place in Canada for a month, I just used a simple DSLR, set up a web presence. Didn't look as good as this, but let me show you what it looked like, okay? So I'll go here to my website. Let's go to About Chris, so I can click here on, and I have a TikTok account if anybody wants to follow me there too. Yeah, let's go here, and I'll show you what it looked like before. Okay, we're at my parents' place. Give me 1 second to find it. Here it is. This is last week's, right? All right, so last week's, here's what it looked like. So, yeah. This is my parents' house, and this is the setup right here. Give me 1 second to show it to you. See here? Oh, it's killing me. You see it right there? That little setup right there. Yeah, there it is there. It's hard for me to be able to pause it here, but I had a similar stand-up desk right there. Same setup I have here, which I ordered from Amazon, and I had a DSLR camera as well. And so I brought up my Sony camera and I hooked it up. But that was all done with natural light as well. I didn't have any lighting here. There it is there. Okay, good. Okay, good. So this is the setup that I had at my parents' place when I was there for a month, just spending time with my family. I bought over Amazon.ca in Canada, a treadmill, a stand-up desk, which both of them were less than $200 each. I put them on stilts so that my posture was good. And then that right there is just a DSLR camera, which I hooked up to my Mac. And this is an iPad, okay? And I had a Blue Yeti I brought as well, microphone. And then I also hooked up to my parents' television right there behind the DSLR, right? HDMI, so I can read questions from everybody. Yeah, so you can do what I do, at a much, much lower budget as well. Yeah, and first impressions are crucial as well. So I encourage everybody to have a kick-ass setup at home, which you can do pretty cheaply. Now, in terms of content in your presentations, on your slides, never have more than 3 bullet points ever, because nobody's going to pay attention. And we can't handle more than 3 things at once. Steve Jobs used to talk about the power of 3, or the rule of thirds. And great pictures always have 3 layers as well, like the ocean, where you see the beach, the ocean, the sky. Never more than 3 bullet points per slide. If you're going to present for more than 10 minutes or so, have a little video to show to keep people entertained. And when I used to teach in universities, it was so hard, man, because a lot of students wouldn't pay attention. And nowadays people are used to, watching videos from Mr. Beast where you never get bored. So you always got to mix it up as well. I tend to move a lot when I present as well in person. Motion creates emotion. Aside from that, when it comes to webinars, I would use a product called Wirecast, okay? Or you can use a free version of it called OBS. And what you can do is, when you're on a Zoom call, you can use this product here to set up your Zoom call. And the way you do that is you go to what's called a virtual camera, and you start the virtual camera. And then you select this camera, whatever here shows up in Zoom, so that you can change the camera angles as often as you want to. And this will all flow directly through to Zoom as well. It's really easy to set up. Again, you set up a virtual camera. In terms of equipment, I would initially kick it off with using the camera on your laptop or your iPad, which looks pretty good these days. And if that's not good enough, then buy a DSLR camera, okay, meaning one of these ones. Make sure there's an HDMI port as well. And then you have to buy a capture card to be able to hook it up to your computer. If you're just getting started, the microphone I recommend getting is the Blue Yeti. Or what you can do is you can get something a little bit higher end, which Joe Rogan uses, which is the Shure SM7B right here. And I'm happy to explain to you exactly how I set it up, etc. Yeah. And I would always have quotes as well. So when I start a lot of my presentations, I have a quote. Quite often it's something like this. The 2 most important days in your life are, number 1, the day you're born, and number 2, the day you find out why. We are here today to talk about the future of whatever it is. Start with a really engaging and thought-provoking quote, and you want to inspire people at the same time, regardless of what the content is of your presentation. I love to use props because nobody else does that, and because when I was younger, when I was a kid, they thought I had a learning disability and they wanted to fail me in the 6th and 8th grade. But my learning disability, or lack thereof, was because I was bored. And all I remember from school is the props that my buddies brought in for show and tell. So you can use props too. And start a speech with a prop, and use a lot of props when you speak, because nobody does this, and you want to create a memorable presentation. So for example, years ago, I presented on personal finance, and I started with this. Do you know that more than 70% of people that play in the NFL, within 2 years of retiring, declare bankruptcy? I'm here today to talk about personal finance, that sort of thing. And I had this custom made from Wilson. If you don't want to spend a lot of money on custom made stuff, what you can do is you can buy props on eBay, and after your presentation is done, sell them back on eBay. So it costs you a very small restocking fee, so to speak. Yeah. But just think differently when you're presenting, and think like an artist, and just have fun doing it, right? And I get a lot of inspiration from my presentations from musicians as well as actors. So for example, Kendrick Lamar, his album Damn. What I loved about that album was the back of the album, all of his tracks were 1 word each. So I use that in a lot of my presentations, 1 word each for different topic titles. In terms of watching movies and getting inspiration, I love watching great speeches in movies. And I also love watching the Academy Awards and great Oscar speeches. And I use that to help me present. So, for example, Matthew McConaughey, when he got Best Actor award for Dallas Buyers Club, his speech was epic. He talked about competing with himself and where he expected to be in 10 years. So he's better off than he was 10 years ago. That sort of thing. Yeah. So you can get a lot of inspiration. Even there's a movie with George Clooney called Up in the Air, which was okay. But there was one scene where he started a speech with a backpack. And he said, "What's in your backpack?" And he took out a bunch of items, etc. And from watching that, I actually got a great idea to teach how fiscal and monetary policy works using that George Clooney speech. And what I did was I said, the United States government has two types of medicine to be able to fix the economy. One is fiscal policy. The other is monetary policy. Let me explain how this works. Yeah, and I went into detail on that. Ouch. All right. But you also got to tell yourself that you just don't care what people think of you. I'm not saying be rude or disingenuous. I know I overdo it with props and stuff, but I want to inspire you all to be able to have fun when you're out there presenting. I want you to think of PowerPoint or Google Slides as your canvas that you're going to paint on. And when you're creative and artistic, you can do wonderful things, and it's so much more fun. And when you have fun and you create, you can basically put your dent in the universe, so to speak. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then Fred wrote, was the outsourcing section of the MBA course part of my venture capital bootcamp? Yes. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. In the third semester, meaning E3-1, Entrepreneurship Semester 3, class number 1, I talk about the Venture Capital Bootcamp, where you are all part of my bootcamp for 15 hours in my MBA degree program, which is close to 500 hours now. And I teach you how to write an incredible business plan and much, much more. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. How to write an amazing business plan and much, much more. Failing to plan is plan to fail. And I certainly give you all the templates you need to be able to create an amazing business plan. I need my haircut badly. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second. George wrote the CFP, Certified Financial Planning, a designation. It's a 2-day exam with a 50% pass rate, very difficult. Yeah. I'm going to teach you all how to pass multiple choice exams without reading the question. This doesn't always work, but if you're stuck, I want you to use this methodology. So for the rest of your life, when you write a multiple choice exam, as long as there's no numbers involved, if it's qualitative, I want you to think like a lawyer. And this is the only time I'll tell you to think like a lawyer. Unless you're a civil rights lawyer, then I love you. So for example, here's the question. Let me get some random prop. All right, I'll use this here. All right, here's the question with 4 answers. What color is Mario's hat? Here are the answers. A, it's always red. B, it's sometimes brown. C, it's never purple. Or D, none of the above. What's the answer? The answer is it's sometimes purple. And here's why. Is it always red? No. What if it's close to something yellowish that's reflecting a different color? Okay. Is it never another color? No, it can always be a certain color if the lighting is on it a different way. The answer, I'm kind of butchering this, is it's sometimes purple. Because it might be purple if a purple light is kind of shining on it. What I'm trying to teach you about is think about Venn diagrams. And this is not a Kamala Harris quote. Sorry. Not telling who I'm voting for. But when you think of a Venn diagram, you think of what fits in the middle. And so words that are always correct in answers are sometimes, in many cases, Yeah, or often, because you can always find exceptions. Think like a lawyer. Yeah. Words that are always wrong in answers are always, never, because some schmuck can always find an exception. Okay. And by schmuck, I'm talking about mean lawyers. Yeah. By the way, are you a jerk before you go to law school, or is that something they teach lawyers in law school? Just wondering. Yeah. Okay. Unless you're representing me. Yeah. And then Fred wrote, do you have a limit on multiple computer monitors for productivity? Yeah. I'll show you my workflow here. So give me 1 second. Let me actually go to this camera angle right here. Yeah. So this computer here, this is the only computer I use for my webcast, okay? This is where I broadcast from. The reason I don't have multiple is because it can bring in more complexity, which means the system crashes potentially. Now, in terms of the other computers I use, down here, these two are connected to another computer here, okay? And these two are how I monitor the webcast, meaning is the streaming quality good, and the Q&A. Okay, and I have two Q&A windows because I want to see live on the left side, and then where I'm at with questions on the right side. I want to see live just in case there's an issue and somebody says, I can't hear you anymore. I have another computer down below, and as I mentioned before, I don't have employees. I have contractors. I spend more money on tech than employees. Saves you money. And I do love people, though. So down below, I have another computer down here that is the lights. Okay, it's lighting. Now it's like a Martin Scorsese movie now. Yeah, right here. Okay. Then I have another computer up top there. Okay, with two monitors, and you'll see them come on in a second as I wake them up with this moose here. There you go. Okay. And up here, this is where I create my content and stuff when students are watching lectures. I never use a production computer for that, obviously. Let me put this to sleep. I also have an iPad where I take notes when I do my one-on-ones with corporates, etc. Right here. And I have the new nano texture iPad because there's lots of lights that are shining in here. Yeah. And I'm a nerd. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Kex wrote, hey, Chris, hey, can you please tell us about your setup in your productivity studio? Also, what stand-up desk do you use that works well with the treadmill that you showed us? Yeah. So you can get any stand-up desk you want to. I used to use buy exclusively from a company called Fully, F-U-L-Y, and they make a product called the Jarvis Standing Desk, which I love, because you can customize it. And Fully was recently bought by Herman Miller, which makes the best chairs. You'll notice there's no chair that you can see here in my office. I don't sit at all, except for at night. All right, so let me actually show you the desk to order. And you can certainly get cheaper ones on Amazon if you want to. But you just go to Fully. Here it is, F-U-L-L-Y, sorry. And then what you can do right here is you can customize a desk. Now, the desk I have is like 6 or 7 feet wide. I got it from a different company, but I bought a couple of these ones in the past. So all you do is you select the desk, the color, then you add all the bells and whistles to it as well, and grommets, not to be confused with Wallace and Gromit. That means little holes in the table. And then also here, you can pay a little bit more to have it go up and down. Yeah. And it's custom made. Yeah. And if you're going to get a chair, get the Herman Miller Aero chair always. Yeah. Aside from that, the reason I have multiple angles also is because when I'm recording courses, it's if I screw up, I don't want to repeat the whole lecture. So if I screw up, I just cut to the B camera and repeat the last line. I cut to the B camera and repeat the next line. That sort of thing. So it's always great to have two camera angles because of that. This one here, I'm giving a presentation to one of the largest semiconductor companies in the world, all their employees, and I'm teaching them how to set up an amazing webinar. That's why I have that back there as well. Aside from that, if you're going to get lights, what I recommend doing is get lights from a company called Westcott Basics, and I'll show you that in a second. Let me transition over here. I'm using software called Wirecast. You can certainly use a free version of Wirecast called OBS, which stands for Open Broadcast Software. Now, for lighting, what you want to do is you always want to have 2 lights, okay, at a minimum. Okay, so this is kind of like the sun. Okay, it's called your key light. And then you need another light as well that's called the filler. Okay, and sometimes you'll see people making movies outdoors and somebody's holding up that big reflective thing. And the reason is because they want 2 light sources. Light source number 1 is the sun. Light source number 2 is the filler, the reflective thing. Yeah, so you want 2 lights. What I also do is I have a backlight as well back here just for effect. And if you don't have a backlight, what you can do and what I used to do is you can put just a lamp right behind you, not too close to the wall. And you want to be at least 5 feet away from the wall so that you're not casting shadows on the wall. Yeah. So Westcott Basics is the first brand that I used. It's cheap as well. Buy everything from Amazon because it's cheaper that way. Just do a search for Westcott Basics lights. It's like 150 bucks or something. Here they are here. Yeah. And there are other knockoffs as well, right? So this is actually 69 bucks right here. Pretty good, man. Price keeps coming down. Yeah. So this is the first set of lights I recommend getting. Yeah. All right. Let me see if there's anything else I can tell you. Yeah, if you have additional questions about the technology infrastructure or anything that I use, please let me know. Yeah. All right. And I bought it. This is ridiculous, but I bought this remote curtain opener just because sometimes when I'm presenting, I want to change the lighting a bit as well. Plus, I get depressed sometimes. I'm fully transparent, which is why I walk all day. And you always need vitamin D as well, right? So that gets me a little bit of vitamin D. And I have another light up here that mimics vitamin D. It's not perfect. It's called Morocco. Way overexposed, I know. Hey there. But yeah, anyway. And these curtain things, I got these on Amazon. The curtains are like 20 bucks each. And the curtain thing is like 100 bucks all in or something. And I know it's ridiculous, but behind all my computers back there, I need to use something like this. It's tough to get back there. And I'm a nerd, as you know. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, and then Sean wrote, what kind of whey protein do you use? Yeah, I use organic. My kids use another brand as well that just arrived. It's massive. I'll show you. Orders. I'm fully transparent, as everybody knows. Okay. Where is it? Here it is. This is the one that my kids order. I order something a little bit more healthy than this. This is a massive bag. Looks like dog food, eh? But let me search here and I'll show you. Okay. Whey. Yeah, I order something. This is the one I order here, which I think is organic. Yeah. Yeah. And then these here are so by the way, because we're talking about how to give a presentation, if your voice ever goes during a presentation or right before, you can do a couple things. Number one, you can have vocal zone, okay, which are lozenges, or you can use this product here. Okay, and opera singers use this as well. You know, one speech can change your life, so you always got to be ready, eh? What you can also do is use this. And this goes under your eyes, and there's caffeine in it, and it makes your eyes look less tired underneath the bags. And this is for when I nick myself shaving, which occurs all the time. And I just bought this as well. I'm getting older, whatever. But and then in my shakes, here's what I put in. I'll show you. And these are props for a presentation I'm giving you, Semi Company. All right, let me show you what's in my shakes. Yeah. So every week I order groceries from Whole Paycheck, Whole Foods. And what goes into my shakes are the following. Okay. 7 or 8 things of kale. As I mentioned, strawberries, blueberries as well. You can't see here, but it's there. Lemons. Never use oranges because there's too much calories. You get vitamin C this way. Raw ginger root. I put in garlic as well, which is cray-cray, I know, but it stops you from getting sick, and a bunch of other things. And everything else, I put in aloe water as well. Everything else you see here goes into my pretty much my salads, lots of nuts and avocados and stuff. Yeah. All right, back to my messy desk view. Okay. All right. There's steps. And you said, what are those steps? Not sure what you're referring to. If you're talking about, this is just for me to be able to get up on the ceiling. And yeah, so I have tons of pipes all over the ceiling as well. Let me see if I can show you the ceiling. So everything is on the ceiling. That way I don't start fires and stuff. But I'll show you the ceiling here as well. Okay. So there's the ceiling up there. So what I have on the ceiling is a lot of sound tiles. Okay. And let me see if I can fix the exposure. Yeah, there you go. A lot of sound tiles up there, and then pipes. The pipes everywhere up here, because I love to hang stuff on the ceiling as well. Let me lower the exposure a bit and then get back into character. Give me 1 second. Chris, if you strive for perfection, you'll never reach it. Okay, that's gonna have to do for now. Okay, a bit underexposed, but that's okay. All right. Yeah. All right. And then next up, Luik wrote, I'm looking at a mid-career change to private equity and venture capital. What are the minimum qualifications required? Yeah. So first of all, I would not go into venture capital unless you've started companies. And the reason I say that, if you network hard and try hard, yeah, you'll get a job in VC. But you won't get promoted very much. And the reason why you won't get promoted very much is because you're competing against other venture capital firms to win deals. And the founder of a company who's choosing which VC to invest in his or her company, they will choose the partner at a VC firm that has experience. Why? Because you're going to join their board and you want to give advice based on the companies you've started. So don't do VC unless you started a couple companies. You can go into private equity if you want to, though. Because private equity, you don't invest in startups. A lot of times you invest in companies that are poorly run, and you invest in them, make them better, change the management team, and then sell it back to the markets, that sort of thing. Yeah. But for a finance career in general, aside from venture capital, you can learn all this stuff online. You certainly can. I teach everything about venture capital, private equity, investing, etc. in my MBA degree program and my courses. You can learn it online. If you want to start your own fund, you have to have a track record. And the best way to get a job in any sector is to do this. So first of all, if you want to get a job, every time you see a job opening, you have literally a 1 in 250 chance of getting that job. So who gets the job? Well, it's somebody that knows somebody at the company. So that's what you have to do. You have to network like crazy to meet people at the company you want to work at. If you want to work at Goldman Sachs, set up 50 informational meetings. That's right. How badly do you want that job? And the way you set up those informational meetings, and I teach you exactly how in more detail in my MBA program, is you search LinkedIn. You have a good LinkedIn profile first. You search LinkedIn and find people that have a couple things in common with you that also work at Goldman. Maybe they went to the same high school as you. Maybe they're a member of the same organization or club, etc. And you ask them, do you have time to meet? You say, John, hope all is well. I also went to the Toronto French School, and I'm also from Mississauga, and I live here in the Bay Area. Please let me know if you have time for a coffee. Thanks a lot, your future boss. No, thanks a lot, Chris. And you might think to yourself, Chris, I don't get it. Why the hell would somebody take a meeting with me? Well, think of it this way. Let's imagine it's 20 years in the future, and you're 20 years more successful than you already are today. And a younger version of you reaches out to you that went to the same school, maybe they worked for the same company, they're from the same hometown, and they ask you for an informational meeting. Would you say yes to that meeting? Of course you would. But you have to ask. You got to ask tons of people for meetings. Remember, closed mouths don't get fed. So what do you talk about in these meetings? Well, you kick it off with bonding before business. You talk about what you have in common. And then they're very naturally going to say, why are we meeting? They'll say it in a nice way. And at that point, you got to tell them, I'm really interested in a career in finance and working at Goldman, wherever company it is. And you ask them how they got into Goldman. And then you have to ask them, remember, closed mouths don't get fed. Before the meeting's over, do you have any openings for me? Please. And if they say no, say, well, do you think there might be an opening in the next couple of months? If they say yes, you reach out to them in a couple of months. If they say no, then you ask them, well, do you know anybody else that went to our school, the Toronto French School, that might be hiring in finance you can please introduce me to? Ask and you shall receive. It's prophetic and it's been true since the beginning of time. Now, I had a student in my MBA program, my Platinum MBA, 2 years ago, that networked like crazy, doing exactly what I told you. And he got a full-time job offer at Goldman Sachs, working in investment banking, in New York at the associate level. And in his start class were Harvard Business School students. This stuff works. Your network is your net worth. Relationships are more important than product knowledge. Please do this. It's like dating. I had to ask out 8 million women before one said yes. You only have to be right in business one time. Yeah. You're Teflon too. You don't care what people think of you. You take risks. Okay. All right, next up, Anthony wrote, you can use Excel online. And then you wrote, Dr. Jordan Peterson has valuable insights and courageous. Yeah, I watch a lot of his stuff on TikTok as well. Yeah, very insightful. Yeah. Kind of like Malcolm Gladwell in terms of also being from Toronto, but comes up with interesting ways to look at stuff. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. And then, hey, David, how are you? David's in my current MBA class I launched on May 6th. And people are always asking me, when am I launching my next MBA program? I'll show you quickly here. I don't want to, this is not an infomercial, although I am a great used car salesman. But if you go to my website and then click MBA FAQs, so I've got 4 programs and they all have the same content, right? So you can click here and start my Silver MBA today. It's a one-time payment of this $999 or $99 per month. And everything I sell, it's got a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. If you don't feel like you're getting a 10 times return on your investment, ask for your money back. Then I have gold and platinum. And by the way, with silver, in 23 minutes, I'm going to be doing a 1-hour weekly Zoom call with silver students. It's a small handful of students. And you can always get the link by clicking on the first lecture in this curriculum if you buy right here. Okay. These ones here, it's like silver, but I teach it live. Platinum students get 3 hours of one-on-one calls with me per year. These are sold out. The next class will be in January. If you join silver, you get a discount, obviously. And then there's diamond, which is much more expensive. And I am sold out for this, so please don't book a call for this year because it is sold out. Yeah, but you can join silver now if you want. Okay, no more selling. All right, so David wrote, greetings, Chris and fellow MBAers. Glad to attend my first live office hour. Great to see you, man. Thank you. All right, moving on to Louison, who wrote, hi, Chris, greetings from Belgium. Great to see you. Welcome. You wrote, I noticed you're familiar with gaming stuff. I am a man-child. You wrote here, would you kindly share some of your all-time favorite multiplayer video games with us? Thank you, and take care, man. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And to my little sister, Katie, who passed away recently, who's in heaven. Katie, I'm so sorry. Growing up, you were always Luigi and I was Mario. And sometimes I would give you an extra controller and pretend that you were playing when you actually weren't. I love you and I miss you. Yeah. So I love the Mario franchise as well. I think Mario Odyssey is a masterpiece. GTA, I love those games. I recently finished GTA 4. I have a small handheld gaming device I bought, better than the Steam Deck. Hi, I'm 7.5. GTA 4, I recently played a great storyline. GTA 5, of course. I love Red Dead Redemption. I think it's a masterpiece. Everybody, please turn me off and go play Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. No, actually play 2 first and then 1 after that. Yeah. Aside from that, there's a great game you guys have to play if you want to understand AI and the future of AI. And that's called Detroit Become Human. And you'll really understand how scary the future might potentially be. It's made by Quantic Dream. Here it is right here. Okay. Yeah. So you're an avatar in this game, and everybody's got a different ending when you play it as well. And there's real actors and actresses as well, including Lila Garrity from Friday Night Lights, who used to date who's she date again? Yeah, right here. She dated Derek Jeter. But you're an avatar in this. Anyway, it's a fantastic game. And while I was playing this game, it's really interesting. There are cutscenes. And when the cutscenes are loading, meaning the next level is being loaded, everybody playing online, thousands of people are asked a question. And one of the questions was, would you date an android? And 75% of people playing said yes. So AI and all this stuff is going to have a material impact on everything we do in the long run. Yeah. Yes. Yes. And dating an android is considered cheating. Okay. If you get caught. No, it is cheating. Okay. And by the way, my MBA degree program, MBA, please don't let me mislead you. It stands for married but available. No, it doesn't. Sorry. Just kidding. This never comes off. Okay. All right. Aside from that, multiplayer games, I used to play Call of Duty a lot. I remember I met with Bobby Kotick from Activision many times in the early days. I was excited on ATVI, the ticker company before Microsoft bought it because of that. But I don't play Call of Duty anymore because, oh my God, people are so good. I just can't compete. It's hard, man. Yeah. Yeah. And what I do play every single day for at least half an hour, especially when I go to the gym, every day I play SimCity. It's my all-time favorite game. This is how I learned about business, playing SimCity on my Mac Plus in black and white back in the 80s. But I play SimCity Build It, and I love it. I love it, yeah. And as part of my real estate elective course coming out for my MBA students this fall, we are going to be using SimCity to learn about real estate. It's fun. It's gamification, right? Okay. All right, the Vanquisher wrote, is there a way I can borrow from my life insurance without waiting the standard 2 years? Yeah. Call your life insurance company. They always have complex plans that might enable you to do that. But please be careful with investing money through insurance companies. Because the more complicated the financial instrument is, the higher the hidden fees. Yeah. Yeah. And I wouldn't buy stocks or invest in stocks through insurance companies. Yeah, ever. Yeah. All right. And then Fred wrote, what is the most employees you had working for you? Yeah, let me think about that. Probably 50 or so. Yeah. Yeah. And that was actually early in my career when I was at Accenture. Yeah. Or Accidenture. No, it's Accenture. It's a good company. Yeah. All right. All right. I got time for a couple more questions. And if I don't answer questions, you guys can if you're in the Silver MBA program, I'll see you in 15 minutes for the 1 hour Zoom call. And to get access to that link, you just go directly to the first lecture in the curriculum there. Okay. And then Fred wrote, with his startup, I want to hold off hiring people for as long as I can. Good. Yeah. And in the third semester of my MBA program in Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, there's a venture capital bootcamp as well. And I teach you how to start a company with no money. And I don't want you to hire anybody, ever, until you have to. Okay, I want you to be cheap as well. Yeah. And if you're going to hire, I would think about offshore. Just keep your expenses low. But only hire after you've looked to see if AI can't do that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Aviation wrote, Matt Damon's motivational sales speech to Michael Jordan in the Nike documentary Air. I love that. And that's such a great movie. Everybody should watch that, Air. It's with Michael Jordan. And what's interesting about that is that you didn't see Michael Jordan once in that movie. The actor that played him, you only saw the back of his head. This is one of the best quotes of all time. And then Aviation wrote, your hair looks great. I wish I had some. No, what I do, I think it's cool to not have hair as well. Michael Jordan certainly looks amazing. But I had a product I wanted to show you. Oh, here it is here. Yeah. So for anybody that has hair loss in your family, and you always got to look at your uncles, aunts, whatever, parents to see what illnesses they have. Ask them so that you can nip it in the bud and not get those illnesses through nutrition, exercise, etc. But here's a little tips. So there is hair loss in my family. I've done a couple things. Number one, I use minoxidil, which is Rogaine, which only helps right here. Okay, but I put it on the sides as well. Number two, and please talk to your doctor before even thinking of doing this. In my 30s, I was washing my hair with a white towel, and a bunch of hair kept coming out. So I did a ton of research. And I take this product called Finasteride. It's dirt cheap. I take 1 or 2 milligrams per day, and there's other positive side effects and one negative side effect as well. You can do research on that. And my hair actually regrew because of that. The other thing I do, and I do a lot of biohacking, and y'all think I'm crazy, now you're gonna think I'm really whacked, is I wear this, okay? And this here, there's thousands of red lights here, and it's called red light therapy. And it only turns on when I'm wearing it here. And that's 10 minutes I do every now and then. Yeah, so anyway, that's what I do. Okay, and then Excel wrote, do you have any tips for freelancing? Yeah, step one, go to Fiverr.com. That's Fiverr.com. Great company based in Tel Aviv. Step two is you can go to Upwork.com, which I think is a US-based company. And you can start looking at what other freelancers have on their profiles and how they sell themselves. And then read their negative reviews and make better versions of the services they sell. Kind of like if you want to teach on websites like Udemy, and you want to teach business or tech courses or whatever it is, like stuff I do, go to my reviews and look at the 1-star ones on Udemy, of which there's 8 million, and make a better version. That's part of educational Darwinism. The learner ultimately wins in the long run. Aside from that, another way to market yourself as a freelancer is to give your thoughts a lot on LinkedIn, Reddit, etc., all social media platforms, okay? And write 1 article per week on LinkedIn. And the reason I say that is I want people, when they look at your LinkedIn profile and they do research on you, to think of you as a thought leader. You know, it's like the Rodin sculpture. You know, I think, therefore I am. And if you give your thoughts over and over and over again on LinkedIn or different social media platforms, eventually the media will come to you, like they've humbly done to me, and interview you as well. And this is great social proof as well. And it's all part of marketing. And marketing is not like sales. So you don't get married after one date. You kind of date the customer for years. Case in point is, before you buy a car, you might see 20 commercials from Toyota, or you might see no commercials from Tesla. And the reason why I mention that is because I've never seen a Tesla commercial. Why? Because Elon Musk is so brilliant with how he uses social media. He gets free PR, and I want you to take a page from his book as well. What you can also do to get PR is you can use a page from Mark Benioff's book. Mark Benioff is the founder of Salesforce.com, the biggest employer here in the Bay Area. I've met him a couple times, nice guy. What he did was he made friends by networking with 50 of the top tech and finance journalists in the world. And he was controversial, and controversy sells. And you have to be controversial but tasteful as well. So what he did was he said software is dead. And nobody understood what the heck that meant. But he was basically saying back in 1999 when he founded Salesforce that cloud computing is the future. You don't have to download software on your computer anymore. You can also be controversial like Elon Musk, but try to be tasteful. Don't be insulting anybody, obviously. Or you can take a page from Sir Richard Branson's book and be controversial as well. And what Branson did, and being controversial, but tasteful can get you free PR. Like for me, I can say Harvard Business School, HBS, 2/3 of HBS is BS. Or is that Haroun Business School? I don't know. You tell me. But let me show you what Sir Richard Branson did. So what he did was he rented a tank when he declared war on Coca-Cola. Richard Branson, tank, Virgin Cola. Right, obviously you can't do this nowadays, but he rented a tank and he drove into Times Square when he launched Virgin Cola to take on Coca-Cola. Right, very controversial. So you want to be you want to be controversial with your marketing campaigns if you want to, and engaging, right? Another way to get business as a freelancer or get more attention for yourself is to think about helping people with social media. Create tons of vlogs to help people. Inform, educate, etc. When one teaches to learn. Yeah, but be in it for the long term. A lot of people give up on YouTube content after 6 months or so. Be consistent and never give up. Yeah, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, according to Lao Tzu. Okay. And Anthony wrote, LOL on lawyers' communication style. Often, yes. Yes. Yeah. Again, I do love civil rights lawyers. Yeah. But the other ones, not so much. Okay. And then Aviation wrote, how do I determine if my graphics card will handle multiple screens? It's less so of a graphics card issue. I know why you're mentioning that. You probably have a desktop, and on the side of the graphics card, there's an HDMI port, and there's an HDMI port somewhere else. What I would do is you usually have to buy an external device if you want to hook up multiple monitors. So it's usually like on a Mac, or it's like a CalDigit product. You can search for CalDigit alternatives as well. So I use 7 CalDigit boxes to hook up multiple monitors and tons of USB-C devices as well. Yeah, let me show you the one that I recommend you guys buy. Okay, so I'm going to go to my orders, and I'll show you CalDigit, and this works with Mac and Windows. Yeah, so here it is. I've ordered it a bunch of times over the years, as you can tell. There's newer versions that work out quite well. And this works for USB-C monitors as well. Yeah. 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 So yeah, you hook this port here up to your computer, and then the other ports work as well. And there's one more additional USB-C port that's powered that works as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. And Adele wrote, is a career in energy trading industry better in terms of pay compared to equities? Yeah, yeah. So I'm down my knees here. Please don't get a career in trading. It doesn't work. Yeah. Just be long-term focused always. Yeah. And if you're interested in energy, what I would do is, apply to work at like a Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, et cetera, and work in equity research as a junior analyst, entry level if you want, reporting to the lead analyst that covers the energy sector, companies like Exxon, Chevron, etc. Or you can work for an analyst that covers a smaller sector like the OIH. Okay, and the OIH are basically drillers, right? Like Transocean, ticker rig, Schlumberger, and others. Yeah, so work for the oil drillers, analysts, etc., or oil services, I should say. Yeah, and I can give you more feedback on that if you want to. Okay. Okay. All right. And then Bavia wrote, why is your name on Amazon AA Chris? Is that a hack to get your orders delivered fast? No. I do it because I have a ton of addresses. Like I bought my students and gifts for people all over the world and stuff, Bibles and stuff. And it's all sorted, all the addresses are sorted alphabetically. That's just why it's at the top. Yeah. Because my son, who's at Berkeley, for some reason, the shipping is defaulted to his name. Yeah. Okay. All right. And I got time for a couple more quick questions, then I do have to wrap it up. And if anybody's in my Silver MBA program, I'll see you in 5 minutes on our weekly Zoom call. Alexa, please stop. Thank you. Okay. I just told Alexa that to kindly be quiet. Okay. Next up, I've got Coriolanus wrote, hey, Chris, I'm based in the United Kingdom and that's how we say about in Canada, about to become a fully qualified accountant, and I'm looking to specialize in one industry. Which sectors do you think are most lucrative for the future? Okay. Yeah, so whenever I invest in companies or think about sectors, I always ask myself this question. In 5 years, will this company or this sector be more relevant than it is today? So I would probably, anything clean energy focused will be more relevant despite who wins in November. Anything AI based as well. Just be careful in an accounting career, any career, not to try to get a job that's too repetitive in nature, because AI will disintermediate you. Yeah. Or what you can do is think about it this way. A lot of people become accountants and eventually their goal is to become a CFO. Think about what company you're most passionate about in terms of becoming a CEO at. So I don't know if it's a software company, try to, start working in accounting at Microsoft, for example. Yeah. Okay. And then Kirk wrote, I love all that you do. Thank you. And all your courses on Udemy. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then Kirk wrote, I'm watching from Poland. Awesome. And I wish somebody made a movie on Lech Walesa. Guy was a stud, man. I loved it. Taking on big bad communism. Yeah. You wrote, I'm watching from Poland, but I'll be back in Toronto next week since hockey season starts. I'm only here for 3 months a year. Thanks for all your edutainment. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Okay. And I see it. There's tons more questions. Let me just do one more, and then you guys can ask me during my weekly Zoom call for Silver students in 3 minutes, or just save them and ask me next week. So last one I'll read here is David, who wrote, the average cost of graduate school comes in at just over $65,000. Yeah, it's expensive, man. And then you wrote, how can you afford not to get your Haroun MBA? Thank you. I paid over $30,000 in 2003 for my first MBA. Chris provides a lifetime value. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And God bless you. Excellent. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this weekly webcast. If you have additional questions next week, you want to ask me about how I set up this room and all this cray stuff, please let me know. Please like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you next week and every single week. Thank you. Take care.